once before. We're just going to have to record the meeting and put it up later. There must have been some Zoom in date that forced an install. So we're not streaming live. We can proceed with the meeting. And if we enter executive session, I'll simply stop the recording, but I'll just push this up. I have it recording for this exact reason because we've had this happen once before. So apologies for that. It'll just be available probably by tomorrow midday if anyone asks about it.
Okay, I guess we'll call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is,
I don't have that agenda. Well, I have the minutes.
I don't have an agenda because it's on my phone. I'll be
Well,
here in a
first
second.
order of
What's the
business,
first?
minutes.
Approval of minutes.
Okay, so we have the minutes from, what date is this?
December 9th,
December 9th, 2000.
2020.
2020. Good.
Okay, we need a discussion, changes? No? Motion,
I'll move it. I've read them all.
second?
Second,
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't here. I like to be here now. We now have the minutes from February 26, 2020. Changes, suggestions? Motion,
I'll motion again.
second?
second,
Thank you. Those in favor?
I,
Aye.
I abstain. So it's unanimous except for Shoily. And then the last one appears to be September 23rd, 2020. Changes, suggestions, discussion? No. Motion,
I'll make a motion
I
second?
second,
Okay, we got a roll going here, boys.
and we'll vote. Aye.
And
I,
thanks, guys. Unfortunately, because of our, you didn't get anything, Mel, right, from somebody
No.
from the public?
We did not.
Okay, and I would suggest that we would mark Graham and Johnny excused, not just absent. Nothing, and so we skip, we also skip,
We've got the report from the police department.
wait a minute. We don't have Graham, so we go past that, so Chief, you're up. You there, boy?
How about that? Everybody hear me now?
Okay,
yeah,
great.
we got you.
All right. Let's see, I can give an update on some things IPD related. I'm not sure if this was covered the last meeting. I haven't been here. I was on a nice long vacation trying to reground myself.
Thank gosh.
But
You came back. Yeah.
yep, back recharged. So we have 3 officers which we hired in August. I think hopefully you all have been made aware of that. So they're in the Syracuse Police Academy now. We have an additional 4 positions right now for police officers that are funded and vacant. We also have a vacant and funded sergeant position. So we just got back the list on that. We're hoping to make a promotion, which will then open up another patrol position, giving us a total of 5 right now till the, currently moving forward. We are continuing to work through the process. We're doing several backgrounds right now. We've done chiefs interviews. So we're hoping to be able to offer a few more jobs here in the very near future. In my budget, which I will send a copy out to everyone on the board, I'm asking for 3 additional positions for next year. So hopefully we'll get that. Let's see. I'm also working on trying to develop and be able to implement a signing bonus for lateral transfers. So that'd be for any officer that qualifies under the state civil service law to be able to lateral transfer to IPD. We would be able to offer a signing bonus. Really, the benefits are the downsides of not having laterals, given our number of open positions is that it's such a long time between the time we hire someone and when we can actually assign them to the road. For an example, the 3 officers that we have in the Syracuse Academy were hired in August. They started the academy. We will not be able to assign them to patrol duties on their own until May of 22. So anybody that we hire now, likely will not actually affect our patrol staffing level until probably sometime January of 23, depending on when the academy starts. So it's just a huge lag time for us to hire off the list right now. Additionally, we have 7 officers that are eligible to retire this coming year. So the idea would be if we can put a financial incentive to bring some laterals in here, the total time of training would be 10 weeks or 400 hours. And then they would immediately be able to supplement our patrol staffing numbers and provide some relief to the officers that are here. So that's a goal. We're working on that. That's going to require an MOA, MOA between not only myself or the city, but also PBA. So we're trying to work through the logistics of that. So we have some meetings coming up for that. And I'm very hopeful that we can roll something out soon. Departmentally, I'm sure many of you have seen there's been a lot of both public and internal, gotten many letters and, heard from my staff that, the staffing shortage is really affecting people. With the burnout is very real, inability to appropriately staff the road. Our minimum, it's not our minimum staffing number, but it's our preferred minimum staffing is 6 officers for every shift. And we go many shifts with 2 or 3. I think the average right now is 4. So we're really short. So what I've done is I recently reviewed the schedule and implemented a 4-month essential training freeze on all of our training. I canceled around 800 hours of training that was scheduled over the next couple months that was already in the books. And we also are putting on hold any in-service training that's not mandated by the state. So the goal would be that we take away, or we limit the ancillary functions that everyone is doing, hopefully bulking up the number of people available to handle calls and respond and interact with the public. Also redirecting the overtime that we would normally spend to do the training and backfilling just strictly to supplement the road patrol staffing to try to help provide some relief. So it's kind of trying to look at doing a reset to see how we appropriate the resources that we have until we can get more personnel on staff. But so that'll be reevaluated. We'll be monitoring, but reevaluating that freeze the end of January. So I'm hopeful that will help at least provide some temporary relief, and then maybe we can, get some more bicycle patrols or some more foot patrols and be able to get enough officers working that, they're not just scrambling to handle the 911 calls. They'll actually be able to get out and talk to people and rebuild those bonds with the community. That's the goal. We still do have on the books some pretty significant training that I left in there because I feel like it's pretty valuable stuff that, relates directly to our relationship with the community. I can just give you a quick list of some of those that we still have people in. This is for this month. We've got assisting individuals in crisis, which is a 3-day training. We have 2 officers in that currently. We also are participating in this crisis intervention team training that the sheriff's department brought into town. We agreed to partner with them, and I think since that time they've also gotten some additional partners, maybe the health department, mental health, I think also. But that's a 40-hour training. We're putting 5 officers in that, and that curriculum is, I think, it's a pretty big hit to our staffing, but it's pretty relevant to what I think the community is looking for, and I think will be very beneficial for our officers. Some of the topics that are covered in that are communication, de-escalation. There's some training scenarios, indicators of emotional distress, mental illness and recovery, psychiatric psychotic disorders, hearing voices, exercise, trauma, and PTSD, personality disorders, scenario training, looks like every day, mood disorders, substance use and co-occurring disorders, suicide assessments, officer wellness, anxiety disorders, dementia, talk about veterans and related support systems, juveniles, transitional age youth, community resources, and so on. It's got some really great topics, and I think the idea is to build somewhat of like a co-response or more of awareness. I think what we're trying to get towards where there's a little more mental health awareness, and we'll work closer with Thomas County Mental Health moving forward as well on calls. So that was a pretty big one that we still are doing. Finding fair and impartial policing conference. We're sending myself, a couple of investigators, administrative sergeant, 2 officers. This is hosted by NABLEO, which is the National Black Law Enforcement Officer Association. Downstate, they're hosting this training, so we're going to attend that. And then there's a use of force summit scheduled for November, which kind of hits all current updates for constitutional law, use of force, and that'll be done by some of the training directors, training the instructors here, just to keep us current with legal changes. And it's pretty much a summary of what's going on currently over this month and last month. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to respond.
Just so you know, Vince sent us a patrol division schedule with a little note as to how you might interpret that. You said,
Yeah.
interesting to see it in chart form.
It's hard. I think so. I don't know how he sent it. I don't know if I got a copy on it, but the patrol division schedule right now, I think we have 9 officers assigned to 2 different shifts, and then 8 officers assigned to another one. So it brings to 26 officers total assigned to the patrol division for the 24-hour coverage. And that's before we account for days off or leave time, training, so forth. So it's one of the reasons we're trying to cut down the training, kind of refocus and funnel people back to patrol right now, just back to basics.
Could you remind me too, what A line, B line, what times do those associate with?
So, yep, A line is the overnight shift. They come in at 10:45 p.m. and they work till 6:30 in the morning. B line is the day shift, so roughly 7 to 3, and then C line is the afternoon shift, and that's roughly 3 to 11.
Thanks.
I say roughly because they all work 8-hour and 15-minute shifts. So there's kind of overlap a little bit.
Anybody else? Good, okay.
Well,
Oh, go ahead, Sherry.
well, I was going to ask, since I've lived here in 2013 when I moved here, have been involved in local activities, you guys have always had a staffing shortage, because when we met with Chief Barber, that was one of his concerns, is we couldn't even do community policing because we didn't have enough staff. And one of the issues was when you finally get them through all this process, it's time to move here, and like, wait, we can't afford the taxes. We can't afford to live there. We can't come there because, somebody else hired us, and, there is competition out there. So then my question becomes, if the mayor is going to make all these decisions now, why can't we offer some incentives to the officers that you might think are quality officers that we need, but can't because maybe they can't financially? There have to be, from working as a business manager, there are other incentives that we can give to encourage officers to come live in Ithaca, to be part of what we're going to have. So that I wanted to throw that out there. It's been a staffing problem since day one, and I think it will continue to be until things get settled out. And so yeah, I wanted to say that about it. So good luck, John. I really appreciate everything you're doing, and thank you. And I'll let you guys go. Sorry.
Go ahead, John. You have something?
respond that, I'm not aware, I'm not really sure of how many officers we've trained that have left us, right after that, but I think to your point though, just attracting them to come here from another secure job with another agency has been difficult. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to work through and accomplish. And I think also the other thing is when we sometimes get stuck with the civil service list, which, not that we don't want to work through it, we certainly do, but there are definitely times when, the way the civil service law works out that we have to hire from the top 3. And if we're not willing to hire from the top 3 because they haven't met the standards of the department, we don't feel they would be a good fit for our community, we can get to a point where we are locked on that list, that it takes a lot of effort to get people off of the list if they're unwilling to voluntarily do that. So that sets another roadblock for hiring. So I think by being able to offer a financial incentive to certified officers, we would also have the opportunity, hopefully the goal would be, we would have the opportunity to attract a more diverse applicant as well. If we can put some money out, then we can search out for the type of officers that we want and try to attract them as well.
Well, yeah, so if we're going to give tax abatements to our local developers, maybe we could give tax abatements to people that move here the first year and let them not have to pay all these property taxes for the year. That's one of my things, is that people cannot afford to move up to New York. I know the mayor has great plans for us, but they're not going to move up here to pay the amount of taxes we pay. And you know that, and I think we all know that. And I wish he'd have waited just a little longer till we were through this pandemic to make all these changes he's making, so that you guys and everybody could have been involved. But the way it's been done still leaves a bad. So I want to thank you for everything you've done, and let somebody else speak. I'm sorry, but thank you, John. And thanks.
You kind of answered part of my next question. Let me ask you this though: when it comes to bonus, is it too soon to have an idea of what a bonus would actually look like? I understand the idea. My concern is being able to actually follow through.
So I can tell you what I've asked for and what I currently have some support from the mayor and the comptroller, but there's still many layers that I need to work through, legally to get it approved. But essentially my goal is, to offer a minimum of a $10,000 signing bonus to lateral transfers that meet the requirements to come here, and how that gets paid out would likely be up for, we need to evaluate some more, because I think what we don't want to do is provide someone with a $10,000 signing bonus, have them sign a 3-year commitment, and then they leave, and then we have to civilly, deal with it. So we don't want to have to put ourselves or anyone else in that position. So I think it would be a phased type of thing where there's an initial lump sum, and then after each year they get an additional agreed upon amount to hit that total number.
And so, Dave, you're saying that this lateral transfer would require a commitment of 3 years?
That's what I'm proposing right now, yes.
Okay. And so that part, my other question is how many folks would you be able to get? Like, is this just an enough signing bonus for one person type of thing, or are these bonuses able to be duplicated for multiple staff members, and who would be those staff members? Obviously they would come in with a little bit more experience, but are they detectives? Are they not detectives? What's the situation?
No, this would just be, it would be, what I've asked for is a total of 50,000 right now, but I think we're going to have to rework that just to make it all kind of line up. But I would like to be able to offer a signing bonus for up to 5 lateral transfers. Just knowing how many positions we currently have, I'm asking for more, and I know I'm going to likely have some people leave next year. So, I think I could fill 5. I think, some of the other factors that we're going to have to, really acknowledge, and what I'm trying to work through is the fact that, the PBA is hopefully very close. PBA and the city are hopefully very close to settling the contract, but it hasn't been settled yet. It's looking promising, but so hopefully if that happens, that will be a benefit. But in the meantime, while that still stands, as expired in 2011, that's a big hurdle for people that are certified in another secure job to leave that job to come to our place with such an outdated contract. So that's a hurdle that we, hopefully will not have to deal with for too much longer, because I'm hopeful that they're very close. And then the other thing is, there's a lot of question about how stable employment with Ithaca PD is given the reimagining. So, I think we've worked through that as well, but there's a lot of uneasy people and uneasy feelings. So those are some things. I'm confident, that IPD is not going anywhere, and we're going to continue to need people. So those are some of the things, but also, like I said, this would be a tool for us to seek out a more diverse applicant as well, more qualified, more diverse applicant. They would all be just patrol officers. They wouldn't be hired into detective or anything or any rank. It would just be for our, starting officer.
The three that are coming in, what are their demographics?
The three that we have in the academy right now, we have 2 females and a male.
Okay. And now, how do you, sorry, before I get to the other parts I want to ask about, but the other thing I want to ask about was this bonus have you noticed any effect on your current staff, this bonus proposal?
Yeah, we need the PBAs, they need to be on board with us, but I think that they also recognize, that they're working so thin and that there's, this burnout and they need relief. So I think they also recognize that without some sort of way to jump ahead, and bring people in quicker, it's going to be this, never ending cycle of we're hiring people, but it takes longer to get them back than the rate that we're actually seeing more people retire through attrition. So
I noticed that the training that you guys are doing, I appreciate all the trainings, but part of the issue I tend to notice is that it seems to be the officers that are a little bit more comfortable and familiar with Ithaca tend to do in more cases than not more comfortable or better. To me, I appreciate all the trainings, but part of the issue to me is also how well do these people know Ithaca, and what trainings are going to be part of that to kind of give them a better understanding. And I know there's time, so I'm just trying to squeeze in this other point with whether it's the bonuses or the fact that you guys are doing the National Black Law Enforcement conference that's happening later. How do you intend specifically to, diversity is a very ambiguous term nowadays. And so I'm very cautious when people say that. How do you specifically intend on, having diversity, not just in gender but really in personnel? How do you get more Black officers on here, more Latino officers, more whatever, to have a more diverse looking crowd?
So I think how I plan on doing that is, we need to be an attractive employer, right? Like we need to do outreach, but we also need to offer benefits that are enough to compel someone to want to work here. So I think that's a major part of it. The other thing is we do need to address, and I'm hoping the contract will, retention of officers, because, we just recently had another officer resign and go to a different agency. So, I think we got to focus on retaining what we have, also attracting. And I think if we can make, a financially and a financial package where, with what the department does currently with, the training and the topics that we regularly train officers on and where we're going with our goals, if we can also be able to offer a financial incentive, then the hope is that we would get multiple people to apply, and we could really kind of hone in on who we think would be the best fit to bring into IPD. And I think, traditionally laterals, we don't generally get a very diverse, pool from laterals. Just hasn't worked out that way. We have certainly brought in people of color that are laterals and with diverse backgrounds, but overwhelmingly, I think it's, generally white males that we've attracted. So we need to do better. We need to do more outreach. We need to, get involved with the community more. But I think the biggest thing is we just have to be able to get people to apply, because we have 0 lateral applicants right now.
Don, if I can jump in, one quick question. Is this pool of lateral, let's say, wishful lateral applicants limited to New York State, or is this a national platform? I mean, because it seemed like you might have better luck with a national pool with diversity. I'm not sure whether there are rules against hiring outside of New York State.
But I agree with you. We need to broaden the pool, and I think what we're working towards, and we lifted some of the residency restrictions for our civil service test this last time, which was what got us significantly more people to take the test and pass the test. And we're actually working on, I think we're going to really have some good results from that in ways of finding good people that wouldn't have necessarily applied here in the past. It wouldn't have met the geographical area requirements. So, for example, I think that the previous test we had, I believe, 37 people on the list. This most recent test, which we lifted the residency restrictions, we had 100 and I believe it's about 130. So it's significantly more, and which obviously helps us when we're trying to work through the list, because oftentimes people change their mind, or they don't pass the physical fitness, or some other portion of the background that they don't quite make it through. So we need to have the biggest pool possible. The other part of your question is for this lateral incentive. New York State restricts lateral transfers to specific parameters. They recently changed it, so we can take lateral transfers from any SUNY police agency, which is fairly new. I believe Park Police can lateral, and any other municipal police department in New York State, as long as they've been hired off of a civil service list. And I don't think we can take New York City Police, and I don't think we can take New York State Police. I could be wrong on that, but there's some restrictions. So we have to follow that guideline from New York State civil service law in order to meet our goal of not having to put people through the extended training process. So, because New York State won't recognize out-of-state certificates just based on.
Okay. That's too bad, actually, I think, but way it goes.
John, let me ask you this. During the last time, if you kind of had a situation like this, folks hired a number, or they seemed to be, it wasn't like the number was high in the first place, but I guess more of like, I think it was like 4 or 5 Black officers were hired or something like that. I don't know, I'm not sure it was more than that, during a short time period. When you talk to different folks, if you talk to different officers, blah, 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 you get this feel, whether it's from the Black officers are feeling that they were on both sides, they kind of seem this general feel of like disqualifying feeling if you're just here to meet a certain particular standard, or you're just here to meet a particular status or whatever, and not necessarily a feel of respect like everybody else. So I'm wondering how this is serious to me. How do you intend, when you invite when these officers come into town, and you talked about retention, you talked about yielding this and that, how do you intend on making sure that these people don't feel like that, or that other folks don't feel like they are less qualified because of this whatever time frame? How do you intend on ensuring that everyone feels that they deserve all the same respect, and they're all there because they deserve to be there, not because they're meeting some sort of social whatever?
Yeah, I think part of what you're hitting on is, there's perception, right? And I think one of the difficulties we have, especially, since the killing of George Floyd, is that nationally, it's not popular to be a police officer, right? There's a lot of negative media coverage. There are a lot of departments, that need to do significant improvement. We've done improvement. Everyone should be looking inward to how they can make their departments better, obviously, and we're no different. But I think that there's this generalization, kind of to what you're hitting at. And I think once people come in for the initial interview, I think they would find that, it's a very welcoming department. I mean, we want to bring people, and we want to bring diversity, and we want to bring qualified people in. And I'm not aware of anyone that has gotten that vibe after they've made it to the point where they've come in and done ride-alongs or got to meet the officers or inquired about a hiring process. I think there's a perception that is between the police department and the community, which we need to break down that barrier. And how we do that is just community meetings, talking to the public, working with GIAC, working with UPI on the west side of town, like trying to build community ties here. And then hopefully we can get community leaders locally to kind of help direct the youth to come to IPD and try to get jobs here. And then that opens up our opportunity to actually interact with them in a positive way and draw them in.
You mentioned the 3-day training. Last question, Shirley, I promise. You mentioned the 3-day training, and I'm wondering, is there like a 3-day training, something where it's just solely focused on the city of Ithaca, or some kind of ongoing process to better inform the officers about the city of Ithaca? Like, people should know if I wanted, wanted to, I'm not gonna go into that. My point is that, is there some kind of way where folks are regularly learning about the city of Ithaca? I think that is a serious issue in being able to better serve the city, and not doing this kind of, I'll learn about it during a training or some kind of, when I come into a situation. How do you get to better connect the city of Ithaca to these folks regularly during the times while they're working, or as part of while they're working, that they don't have to take out extra time? If they do, that's great, but it should be seriously part of the learning process ongoing.
Yeah, I think it starts right at the beginning of the hiring process. And I think in the past, we saw more people that had spent some time on their own looking up, the website, trying to learn a little bit about IPD or even just the city of Ithaca in general. And I think more often than not now, we're getting people from, outside of the Ithaca area that have no knowledge of Ithaca. But it's our job, as you said, to kind of bring them into the community and explain it. So we do all that in the initial field training program, where we learn geography and they go out and they interact and meet with different departments within the city. And there's like regular emails that come out and updates from City Hall and other departments. And so they get the information like that. I mean, we don't have an actual program where we, have an in-service about updates within the city. I don't know if that's answered.
Do you have regular staff meetings with your team?
We do. Well, we have
Is it possible to invite members of the community to have a different member introduce themselves or speak to what they do in each of your meetings? Something like that?
Yeah, we could definitely work something out like that. Sure. It's a good idea.
I don't know if you need help. I can see you just let me know how to help, but I think it's something where it kind of it meets everybody at the same point. 5 minutes out of your meeting for folks to get to know somebody else, and then you can go about your updates and things like that. But I think, it's important to bring them to you guys.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think we've been on the other side in the hiring, which seems to be, we're doing spend a lot of effort trying to do that right now, but we've broadened out. We're bringing more and more community members in on the recruitment interviews and on the chief's level interviews as well, to try to, get different perspectives and kind of like open up the curtains, if you will, so that people can have a better understanding of how we do things here. I feel like that was a job interview. Did I get the job, Richard, or what?
It's been a time I missed you, John. I had all these questions just burning to get to you. I'm playing. You did a good job. You got the job. I do want to know about your hiring stuff. I'm a little concerned. You've been acting for some time, and how you feel about that. But if you want to, if you feel like things are going all right, that's fine. But you could only acting for a long time is very interesting, and I'm always wondering how that impacts the team in feeling comfortable in leadership.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's challenging. I think historically, I don't know that, but we've had a lot of acting chiefs, but it's generally been for, not a super long period of time. But it's kind of this balance, right? Do you make the decisions you think that, make the change you think need to be made, and potentially, make bad calls and not get the job? Or do you sit by and kind of, let things go until they pick someone? So I'm opting to make the changes that I think need to be changed. And if, I'm hopeful that I'll get the position. If I don't, then I'm going to be able to be happy with what we've done in the meantime. So.
That's it, Shirley, I promise.
You're right. Thanks, Chief. The one other thing that came to mind with like working with the community, have any of the officers participated in Leadership Tompkins?
I'm not really familiar with that. What is leadership? Is that through TC3?
It's companioned with TC3. It's by the chamber, and basically it's a year-long commitment, but very short time periods. That's not like a big time period thing. And there's folks from all different aspects of the community, and you get together and you do a community project together. And so it's like mixing up people from banking to whatever. And I found it to be very, very helpful. You know, people looked at me as a foreign object. Well, they do anyway, but I mean, because I was a person who was in government and, you know, worked at DSS, and it gave a different complexion to discussions. And I think, you know, if an officer did that, maybe other folks would have a different perspective on the officers at Ithaca.
Yeah, I'm not aware of it, but that sounds great. I don't, if you come across any kind of information on it again, or if you have some, you know, please share it with me now. I'm happy to look into it. I think that sounds good.
Super.
What's it
Anything
called?
else?
Tompkins Leadership?
What?
What's it called? Tompkins Leadership?
Leadership Tompkins. You'd be good too, Rich. Is that it for the chief, folks? Anything else? All right, I think next is a report from staff.
Hi, staff here. Nothing to report from the clerk's office because we are sitting amidst the only update I would give there, which is that meetings have now gone back to virtual. The order has been extended until January 15th, so I'll just keep my ear to the ground as to when anything changes on that front, and I'll be sure to try to let you know as far ahead of time as we find out. And then the other information I would share, I did send you a copy of a press release that went out and circulated recently announcing the website tool that I had mentioned in our previous meeting that folks can use to interact with the Reimagining Public Safety information. There's a great how-to video linked in there, but if you go through the information and you find that you want to have a bit more direct support in the website or the materials, how to get registered, things like that, there is a virtual session that you can register for. There's a link in that email. That's one. There's one on Friday at 4 o'clock, and then there's another one in October if you can't make that one. And then by the end of the week, we'll be announcing a virtual update that the co-leads for the working group are going to be hosting. We hope to have in-person events in the future. It's just a little dicey at this time. You know, we had an in-person event in mind, but given the nature of our public health situation, we're going to first host a virtual update where Eric Rosario and Karen Yearwood from the working group, the two leads, are going to be just kind of giving an overview of progress thus far and hosting questions, concerns, public conversation. As soon as I have all that information nailed down, I'll be sure to circulate it to the group. The date we're looking at is early October for that. So that's what I have so far, but please, if you do check out the website, you have trouble registering, anything like that, please utilize me as a resource as well. You can reach me via email or my cell and just say, hey, I'm not understanding how to sign up here, or, you know, what does this mean? But Dominic from the county made a really great how-to video that walks through that whole process, but people have been up on the website and putting in ideas and interacting and commenting on each other's ideas, and there's a lot of diverse opinions on there, so it's pretty cool to see. And I'll put it in the chat. It's publicsafetyreimagined.com or .org, but I'll just pop it in here if anyone wants to copy it. And that's all I have, really.
It's a site you can access without going through a whole training session. It's not. It's
Absolutely. It's very simple.
It first appears.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on it.
Cool.
Kind of interesting to see what people's comments are on the particular items that they're working on. The last I looked, there were two questions they were asking for comments on.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed that when I looked, about half the people were not city residents. So it's interesting to see that.
Yes, which, yeah, and I think that's been the nature of a lot of the conversations so far. And so we thought it was important to try to qualify where folks live when we're hearing from them, because it's difficult to tell if somebody's in Texas and has a strong opinion in one way or the other, and how to weigh that in versus somebody who lives here in the town or in the city. And just to your point, as the different plans are introduced and being worked on, that's when you'll see them come up on that website. So right now, the two things that you see there, the call type response and then the community healing plan, are the two things that are being worked on actively right now. So as things are coming into conversation, they'll be popping up on that website.
Isn't there any way to just ban people from Texas?
In general? From,
Yeah,
you mean from the conversation? You mean folks that live outside? I see. Like from where, Rick? Don't tell Texas. A good thing we're not live. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important to weigh in what the, what the interaction level is and how much outreach we have to do. So if we're having an overwhelming response from people that don't live locally, then that means we need to strengthen our local outreach. So.
well, I didn't mean to disparage non-local people. A lot of them are from a town of Ithaca or, Tompkins County residents who
Right, which
use
is
the city and may interact with the public safety people. So
right. Yep, or work in the city, or going down the line, it'll be more county initiatives as well. So, yeah.
but not too many people come all the way from Texas here. So go ahead, Richard.
Am I to assume that this update from this Eric Rosario is going to be a 30-foot view as to what is going on? I'm essentially trying to understand. This is probably a little over a year and a half now that we've been doing some imagination, and my thought is trying to figure out when am I getting up out of bed to actually move about? What is the next step? And really, moreover, it seems like we're doing a lot of gathering of thoughts. And the other piece of it is I'm not sure of how much of actual policing is being solved here in terms of the assessing interactions with people, but the actual job, different aspects for it to be improved or changed or whatever. I'm kind of like, where is the focus on the policing? This is more of like, tell me anytime you interacted with a police officer, just tell me your thought, go. And I'm sitting here like, I've working with these folks. I know that there could be training on how folks write reports. I know that there could be training on a number of other things I'm not going to go much further in, but my point is that I'm not seeing that being discussed in these particular discussions. So I'm hoping that the 30,000 foot view would probably at some point know that that's coming or it's happening or something.
I see what you're saying. So you're looking for something more about the entire reimagining process on the whole. That's not what this will be. This update's going to be about the working group. So Eric and Karen were not initially part of the work that went on up until they were asked to join this part of it. They had some involvement with focus groups and things of that nature, but they weren't actively working with the project managers and things like that. I'll see if I could find you some just truncated information aside from reading the entire overview, the whole report and going through all the videos that have already happened at this point, but maybe I can find for you just like a flow chart of when different things will be coming into play, because they have lined up when different parts of the work that you're talking about are going to be happening. And it's some of it's going to run alongside of each other, then some things will lead to how other things will work down the line. Like understanding more about call type response, for example, will inform who's responding to it, who's required, what trainings are required, and things of that nature. Does that make sense?
To a degree, it sounds like call and response. I'm not even sure what will come out of that, because I'm not, I don't want to lose track and head into a whole nother logistical question, because that call and response is not as simple as people are trying to make it, or as it's trying to be made. I've attended or seen the public updates, to the best of my understanding, that have been available on the updates of this process. And I haven't seen any indication that any substantial discussion on the job operations of police officers are going to be discussed. I've just seen more of vague planning, in the sense of we're going to have a naming week and we're going to have a something else type of thing, but nothing really about how do you either better or enhance the police officer's job and role.
It's definitely part of the process. Right? That will be coming. That's they're doing a lot to try to be very detailed about each aspect of what they're looking into. Once we opened up the call types, for example, it became evident that people wanted more information from the Department of Emergency Response. They wanted more discussion about these things. And so that's all happening within the working groups. And I mean, if you have, I think it would probably be a great idea for you if you wanted to pop on the tool and where there's that section about, see something that's not mentioned here. If you wanted to say, when are we going to get to the meat of this? When are we going to talk about the physical job of a police officer and what that's going to look like? That might open up a more robust conversation.
Yeah, I don't mind answering that question a year and 8 months later. It's easy for me to do so. I'll do it, but I'm not.
Yeah, they just don't want to hurry it. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things too. We've talked about this, if it goes too fast, not enough time and thought and energy was put into it. And if it goes too slow, people start to think that nothing's going to happen. So we're kind of stuck in between those two places of trying to make it a thoughtful and thorough process and trying to give some sort of action points and success points for people to be looking towards at this point. So we're still building the plane as we fly it is the the thing we say often, but yeah.
All right, I've been flying some planes recently. I don't like them kind of numbers.
Don't take what about let's see if I can come up with a different analogy that's a little bit more safe.
It's not in your analogy. I'm not just worried about the plane. I'm worried about the pilot. I'm worried about.
No, yeah.
I'm worried about.
We haven't put the pilot there yet. We wouldn't put anyone in the plane before we knew what it looked like. How about that? Like, it's not a plane with people flying on it. It's we're trying to decide as we're creating something, how it operates, what it needs to look like, where it's going to go, and then what the people that are in it look like in terms of your comment about the structure of policing and the actual job there. Have to figure out what the responses are and what kinds of things the community really wants to see us focus on in order to more carefully construct those positions and the details of those roles and those trainings and the recruitment, like AC Jolie was talking about, will be part of the consideration, as well as how do we recruit people actively that are going to be great for these positions and be able to work with our department as it, the folks that are there already, and then the new folks that are coming in, the different mental health advocates, things like that. So
thank you, Mel.
Yeah,
thank you.
I know you got time coming, so you can reach me offline anytime about this stuff. I'll try to help.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're on to old business. And I believe old business would be Mike. How are you, dude?
Doing well. How are you?
Nice to see you. We got old business, and the first item on the old business is I was to give an update as to my contact with the gentleman from Saratoga Springs who communicated with us and wanting to know what our troubles were as a community police board, et cetera, et cetera. Had a nice conversation with this gentleman from Saratoga Springs. Their situation is much different than ours in that they don't have any type of citizen oversight at this particular point. And they have a strong pushback from their common council or their legislative body. They're not interested in putting some sort of civilian oversight in place. So getting past that is going to be their hurt. But when I discussed things about what we were doing and how we came about, the things that he felt were important that he was going to, keep in his bonnet, were that we don't have subpoena power and that we kind of operate as a dispute resolution kind of organization and not, the cops to the cops. And he liked that aspect. And personally, so do I. We're getting cooperation. I think if reasonable people sit down with reasonable people, you come to conclusions that are reasonable. And the other thing that he was very appreciative of was the work that you all did with regard to your green, blue, and red, or whatever your things for demonstrations. He loved that and was going to go online to, pull off a copy for himself, because they are currently having multiple demonstrations and arrests going on in Saratoga Springs on the regular. And so what he did say is that he would continue to reach out if there was something that would be helpful. And I told him that's fine with me. It was a nice conversation. I hope they, get to some place where they can have something that's reasonable. The one key thing is their chief is on board with the citizen oversight. It's the legislative body that's the barrier. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Good. And the second point on old business.
Oh, wait, sorry, Shirley. Sorry.
ahead.
Can you, as far as the chief being on board with the oversight thing, can you explain more about that, or as to like why, the chief feel like that?
The chief has got, obviously, he's fighting their legislative body and the citizens all at the same time, and is interested in having an oversight to, help, put the fires out. That's the way it was explained to me from him, and it makes sense to me. I mean, if you're getting, you're getting attacked from every place, you're the chief and you're sitting there going, come on, give me some help.
I actually spoke with their chief
Good.
also. And I think that, he was definitely interested in trying to replicate what we're doing here. I think his concern was, just like anyone else would have, untrained civilians, making decisions, about use of force or, policies that are already in place. And I think that that's just a really difficult thing a lot of cities are trying to work through. But I think seemed like he was very, he was very supportive and wanted to try to pursue what we have. So like you described as dispute resolution, you help us, oftentimes I explain many of the complaints are people don't understand the law, or they, think that we should be doing something else, which we're not actually to do. And when we explain it, it's accepted differently than when you all sit and meet with them sometimes. And it's a very helpful process.
That might want to be something that you guys might want to fix, because it's not like we're experts on communications in here. And so for me, like, I feel like every officer should, I get it, it's not always in the best circumstances, but I do want to encourage officers to do a good job in trying to, because sometimes when it's explained, it's more of like I'm yelling at you and dictating at you or commanding you than I'm talking with you. I'm having a conversation. I'm not saying every officer does that. I'm saying the ones that mess up, they got that problem where that communication is a problem.
Yeah, sure, that can happen. It's, I think oftentimes too, when they see the police there, it's usually after something, happened that wasn't a fun experience, maybe with some conflict, or, usually we get involved and intervene when people are at their worst, or, at a low point. And I think, oftentimes we represent the government or authority, and it's just sometimes that and the delivery potentially, are, difficult for some people to kind of just hear at that particular time. And I think, from my experience, oftentimes later on when the officers speak with you, they can certainly look back and be critiqued and do better. But also sometimes it's just helpful to have somebody that's not the police kind of look at it and explain why it might have gone that way, or other considerations. Just sometimes people can absorb it a little bit differently if it's not coming from us.
I completely agree. I just don't want the impression to assume that this just solely gets the job done. This is more of like, it's one of the multiple solutions. But I don't want people to think that just because if you want I really don't want that habit of, encouraging folks that like the police board is something that will fix that type of error that officers make. I'm not saying, like I said, I agree with you on like the circumstance situation, but I am telling you that there are situations that aren't as whatever, that we can have better forms of communication as far as all these trainings that we're talking about. That's part of it.
My goal, Richard, is for you to have absolutely no work to do every month.
I like that.
All right, we got to move on to the next one, and that is the draft letter with regard to the redesign of the public safety. And I hope that y'all have had a chance and an opportunity to at least read the copy that was attached to the agenda, drafted by Rick. And then Richard recently sent in some changes, I believe. So can we start the discussion on that? Mike?
I'd like to start off if I may.
Okay.
First of all, the conversation that we just had is probably the exact type of conversation that the Reimagining Public Safety Collaborative is going to want to hear when they make decisions about what a civilian review board will look like under the new structure. So I think those conversations are important. We need to remember what we said today, because we're going to have to present this at some point. The letter itself is fairly straightforward. It has one recommendation in it, that the Public Safety Collaborative consider civilian review as a separate issue. I wrote down in there that it is a draft, but I wrote that it was unanimous. Coming from what this recommendation was unanimous. I hope it is. I included 3 reasons why I felt, or why we felt, their discussion of civilian review should be separate from other issues. And I do want to apologize for sending it out to you guys in a PDF form. I had computer issues, but got past that, and Melody has provided you with a version in Word. So if there were comments on that, we probably should get to it.
I want to hear from Mike.
I think it's good. What I was thinking about during this meeting was that it's great to have Melody giving us updates, but wouldn't it be better, or could it be possible to have someone who's actually in charge of the committee to join us in one of our meetings to update us and to be able to answer our questions directly instead of searching for it on websites? I looked for stuff, and the Tompkins County website is pretty well organized, but it doesn't contain everything. So my only addition, I guess, to this letter, just because I just thought of it, is could we also ask for regular personal updates to this board, because that's what we do.
Anyone else?
I second that.
I do too, or third it, or fourth it, whatever.
No disrespect, Melody. I really appreciate what you do. One, I'm not even sure if they're paying you enough to be doing that. And this Ithaca is really good at stretching people's jobs to fit whatever they can. And so, as great as the updates are, I do agree with Mike that there is a necessity for particularly that role player to be here.
No, I take no offense. I'm not entirely sure what kind of, well, in thinking about what you requested, Richard, and thinking about the working group members, those are two different asks. So we can definitely get some updates probably from Eric or Karen. You can certainly make that ask if you wanted to include it in that letter. I am going to go back and state that there's an interest that you have more of an overview available as well. So just of the whole process.
I think I agree, but I guess I'm more interested in having the mayor come and see us on a regular basis with what's going on. You know, we did it, you know, he did suggest it when we met with him in August, but we haven't set anything up to, you know, make that a reality. Hello?
Who, me? Oh, I'm here. I had a child open the door, so I just stopped my video.
I
for a
saw that child.
They found the volume remote for the TV. So that was important information. It's actually been missing for about 3 months. So I'm curious to find out where. We're going to find out later. I'll report back.
Okay.
Nice.
So I don't know, Shari? Have a comment?
My thoughts, the letter, I mean, I'm just gonna say that I think whatever the mayor's doing, his decisions might already be made. I don't like to say that, but you know, let's hope that some of this input counts. But as a community police board and as one of our charges is to interact with the community and the officers and try and bring them together, maybe we could do some sessions. Not everybody has internet. I guess that's one of my big concerns with the mayor's whole project is he's going to assume that everybody has this great internet connection and they are very comfortable hooking up and speaking in front of people or writing letters. And no, they're not. I've spoken at many meetings and it's very stressful and it's very emotional. It's a lot more emotional. So yeah, it would be nice if maybe somewhere at Southside or GAC, they could have, even if we don't do it, but somebody in the city says, hey, let's help these people get online. So if they want to participate, they can. Yeah, they can go to the library, but you know, not everybody wants to go to the library. You know, there's so many things that are, and again, we need the police's support, the officer support too. We need buy-in from the community, from us, from everybody. And I'm very disturbed to hear that people from outside our community are commenting on what we should do in here. And I know we're not really different than any other communities, but we are in a way. So all I know is that I like what everybody has. I think that we need to stick with what we're doing right now and maybe try and interact more with the community. I would like, I like the way we handle things now where we talk to people and we talk to the office. I like all that. I like the community this. I love Melody. Thank you for what you do. Anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts. The letter, yep, what Mike said, I second. I had to step out for a minute, but yeah, I'm good. And I don't know what else to say. I'm very passionate because I'm still locked up for a while. You know, I've got 2 grandbabies, so I can go nowhere. I can only be here and be with you guys. And thank you. I appreciate it. So anyways, I'm good on what everything said.
Your
And good luck,
passion is
John.
what we love.
Well, I got a lot of that.
Okay, good.
I would like to see more. I do think we could do some things with Southside and GAC.
That's
But now with this,
exactly what this first one was
indoor
supposed to be, but it's such a troubleshoot with the yeah, this variant kind of
Coronavirus.
derailed that. Yeah, that was, we had great plans for these events to be held at GIAC and at Southside and the library, but GIAC and Southside have computer labs as well. Like you said, if folks aren't comfortable with going to the library, you know, trying to schedule things for right when folks would be able to come before they pick their kids up, or, you know, we right there with you. Appreciate it.
Let's get back to the letter.
Yeah, thank you.
do we want to take this position and send something to the group about putting the community police board discussions outside of everything else? And after they've decided what the police structure or operation is going to look like?
Yeah, my edit to the letter was really more of like, I just cut some parts. I just thought it was a little bit more direct. I thought other sentences were more of either, it was either information I was already aware or information that I didn't necessarily, like there was, I think there was a sentence about climate, and that in itself was more of like, whether it's this climate or any other climate, it would not change my position as to wanting to have this discussion at a separate point. So to me, the political climate had nothing to do with my want to have this conversation in a separate form. This kind of climate really has been in existence since all I've known. So it's, unless the weather's changed, it really doesn't do much.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the review may take place in a different legal climate concerning public access to personnel records. I think you know that there's a probability of change to how the state is going to allow personnel and incident reports to be accessed by the public. It's not anything we can change, but I do think that as those changes are made at the state level, that's a reason for asking the Public Safety Collaborative to wait on how they deal with civilian review. It's
I would
not
specify that.
I'm talking about a legal climate.
Yeah, legal climate is still very vague or very general. I would specify that particular reason. Because I understand that reason, but legal climate can go a different number of ways. And so for me, that's, if you want, if it can be added, but I would only add it if it explains specifically that there could be possible changes to laws, but that affects it.
Right.
But
So I'm just,
a little bit more.
they take place under different legal rules.
Any, or just clarify that there are current discussions happening that could affect, the discussion in terms of that discussion you're talking about with the possible rules change. I think it's a clearer point than saying under these particular legal climate.
Okay, but you understand that there's actually litigation that's ongoing in regard to this.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I'm just saying I would state that particular reason more clearly than just,
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm not hearing anybody. So do we want to clean up a portion of that letter, which Richard has discussed with us, and then move it on? Or do we want to wait? Or
are we going to add Mike's comment about the having someone attend, whether it's the mayor or a leader of the particular, yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that
my bad, I missed that. I saw it.
Mike's suggestion can easily be added at the end to invite them to attend our meetings. And we can certainly change to get the word climate just under different laws or different.
pending litigation?
Right, I would literally point out the pending litigation because I think that's a very important point to make, but just clearly make it.
All right, so change that sentence. I'll change that and get, you don't like the word climate, so I'm more than glad to get rid of that. I'll change that there's pending litigation. The laws may be different. That makes sense?
Sure.
So this sentence will just get changed.
All right, so with that change, do we want to move this or do we want to hold off?
I would move it. What is it? I motion to move. I don't know.
Meaning, we get it out, with the changes that have been suggested as a consensus from the board that we agreed that this is the position we're taking at this particular juncture? Or do we want to wait and do it at another time, or do we want to wait? And I mean, we've had plenty of time. I believe we have plenty of time and plenty of discussions on it, that I don't think somebody's position is going to, markedly change anytime soon, but I would suggest that we, clean it up and send it out.
As would I. I see no reason to wait. It's a
Bruce, you're on mute.
invitation with an invitation. And I think it puts us on the playing field.
Yeah, I say any more
Go ahead, Mike.
any more delays is just asking for less clarity.
Okay,
So let's get it out.
okay.
And the question
I
to
agree.
me is, who do we send it to? I think we have to send it to Rosario and Yearwood, and maybe only Rosario and Yearwood.
I would include the mayor in that.
I agree, Richard. It would be rude not to have the mayor copied on this.
Mayor and the Tompkins County Administrator.
Oh, yeah, because, well, I don't know. Are we in that big discussion right now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah. All of the stuff online is
I beg your pardon, Mike?
all of the stuff online refers to Tompkins County and Ithaca City.
And that ties in with a view that some of us expressed, that when this all pans out, maybe Tompkins County should have some sort of civilian review also.
Mhm.
So it puts the notion in their head without pushing at it.
Any other comments?
You think Cayuga Heights will join? I'm playing.
Did you say?
I was asking if you thought Cayuga Heights would join, but I have my doubts.
Well, they have special people from the country club that go over and review the police there. I used to be one. No. I don't know. I never really thought about that. But, it's something that I guess who oversees them?
That's their business.
Well, they're inside the county.
No, the Cayuga, they have their own police department. I know that because
That
they
I
did
know.
that study. Oh, okay.
But I used to live up there. So yeah, I know that. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, another day for that.
Yeah, another day. Yeah.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so we'll clean this up. It'll go out, we'll have Mel, draft it up and put it on our letterhead. And I would suggest that at the end, it would be respectfully submitted by me as the chair with consensus of the board. Is that okay?
Yes.
Unless you want to sign it. No,
I think that sounds fine. Melody, do you want to just do this, or do you want me to type in? I mean, all we really have changes is in that one sentence. Change the sentence about legal climate, and the other changes to extend an invitation for them to attend our meetings. We want to get that term pending litigation in there. If you want me to.
Okay. I mean, I can review just to get exact language from this recording, and that's fine with me. And then I'll send it over to Shirley for authentication.
all in agreement there? Great. New business? Nope. And we don't have any investigations pending, so we will not need executive session. We could go to an executive session for personnel matters and get Mel a raise, but I'm not.
And I wanted to just be clear, I misinformed earlier regarding the interaction with the site. There is an option for people to state that they live outside of Tompkins County, but none of those individuals have been interacting with the information directly. It seems to have kind of weeded that out. It was early on in the process that was noticed that it was important to do, and that seems to be working, that folks are saying, well, I don't live there, so maybe I won't comment. It's not that they aren't registering, they're not engaging with the content. They might be reading it. I just wanted to check that to be sure. Yeah, that's all.
Again, another reason why you don't get paid enough, but we're just gonna keep going.
Just go check out the website. It's really cool, I think. I think it's cool, but I'm kind of a nerd, so.
Okay, so
Tell me.
I just wanted to say, the problem with the website is that I couldn't find it other than when you pointed it out to me. It's not on, not easily found on the City of Ithaca site and not on the Tompkins County
Oh,
site
it's
either.
on our front page news.
Front page news.
Yeah,
Okay.
like when you go to the website under city news, it says reimagining public safety website and community engagement tool launched.
Okay, because I just right now clicked on for more information about this. Imagine
Are you on the
reimagining.
county?
It popped to the county and the county doesn't have it. So I
Oh,
went
you
from
were
the
on the,
city
I
to the
see what you're
county.
saying. I see what you're saying. So you were
Yeah.
on the site for reimagining public safety on the city's website, not on the, got it. I can update that. I appreciate knowing these things. There's a lot of places to keep track of that information lives. And that's
Yeah.
one that's probably outdated. That's from a while ago. I'll get in there. Thank you.
okay, this has been productive, I think. Even though I prefer to meet personally. Hopefully that'll get resolved relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you all for coming, and can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Bye-bye. Unanimous.
Have fun,
Bye.
Richard. Have a good time in
You will.
Seattle since we're all still here.
Pat?